All right, good evening. My name is Monty Ellis. I'm one of the FAs here at Senior Enlist Academy, and I'll be hosting tonight's convocation. I'm going to go ahead and get started in just a second. So as I've got up there, if you haven't already done so, and it looks like everybody has, make sure your mic is muted for the duration of the convocation. I'll keep your camera off, otherwise everybody's going to be seeing you. Scott, go ahead and turn off your audio, please. All right, so as I said, go ahead and keep your mic muted and your camera off. And at the end of this session, we'll have a Q&A where you can actually turn on your mic and we can talk that way, or you can chat at any time in the little chat feature. So before I begin, I want to say welcome to SEA. We here at the SEA, the FAs here, we want to make sure that you have a good experience. Blackboard, I'm sure some of you've already found out, can be a little bit challenging, so we like to give this convocation in order to explain Blackboard and some of its uses. I'll also go over three-part comms in a short duration, not in depth. That'll be up to your FA. But one thing we like to say here is to be proactive, not reactive. Meaning, make sure you set up your battle plan. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind really quickly. If you end up falling behind, or if you end up needing additional time, make sure you're communicating that with your FA. And one other thing I'll put out is that distance learning, it's similar to a college class. If you've been in college or if you haven't been in college, that's fine. But I will say it's different because we give you a lot of feedback, A, and B, we also require that you use three-part comms, which is a little bit different. And I find that mostly my college students struggle with that because it is different than what you're dealing with. So with that, we'll go ahead and begin. Tonight's convocations, we're going to go over the syllabus. We'll also be showing you navigating Blackboard, where to find some of your major assignments, discussion board post, keys to success, and lastly, we'll hit up good to know information. Again, if you have any questions during this convocation, go ahead and type them into your chat box here. We have Jill Bankus, who is one of the other FAs here at the SEA. She'll be answering any questions you have. So feel free to hit her up and ask any of those questions that may come up while I'm talking. I won't be able to address them right away. I want to give a special shout out to the Brown Group, Brown Bombers. I'm their FA, so Hooah Brown Group. We'll be seeing you here in Newport here in a little bit. Okay, as I said, syllabus. We're going to hit up that first. This is found under the navigation downloads button. I'm going to show you that in just a second. But you'll notice, second line here, it says the week runs Monday through Sunday. So week 1 will be Monday through Sunday, week 2, Monday through Sunday. Your military FAs are going to grade your essays, and they're going to be your lead during the distance learning and your in-residence portion. So if you have issues, you need to contact that military FA. Your adjunct FA, they're going to be grading the discussion board post and your capstone essay. So if you have questions on that capstone, it's imperative that you talk with your adjunct FA. The military FA can give you advice, but again, that adjunct FA is the one grading it. So you're going to want to communicate often and early with your adjunct FA for the capstone issues. And I'll go over that here in a little bit. Discussion board. Those are due Wednesday and Saturday at 23:59, with the exception of week 1. Week 1, you have primary and secondaries due Saturday at 23:59. Every student's responsible for 1 primary and 1 secondary per question. And remember that there are 2 questions. So that's 2 per week. And I'll go over this in just a second, but you look at the weekly topics and the requirements. That's going to be located in your calendar. when your essays are due, weeks 2, 4, 6, and 7. Again, I'm going to go over that in the calendar in just a second to kind of explain what I'm talking about there. You'll also have exams week 3 and 5. And one thing I want you to understand, and sometimes students get a little confused on this, is when you write essays, write them to an audience of senior enlisted people. Why? Because those essays, with the exception of the ethics essay, are going to become speeches when you come in residence. Some students don't grasp that, and they end up coming in-house, and they have to change their speech a little bit. So understand that your essays will become speeches when you come in residence. I'm going to go ahead and switch to Blackboard just so I can show you a little bit what I'm talking about. First, I said navigations download is where you find the syllabus. If you look all the way here to the left, there's navigation downloads. Click that button, this screen's going to pop up. You'll see here under navigation a good explanation of all these buttons. I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to explain some of these buttons in shorter detail, but if you ever need to, you can always come to this navigations download button and you'll see an explanation of exactly what these buttons mean. Scroll down a little bit, you'll see syllabus, rubrics, and student handbook. This is where you download your syllabus here, and you can see the rubrics. Lastly, before you come in residence here, you're going to want to download the student handbook. Additionally, there's a download center where you can get copies of the course material. So let's go ahead and scroll over to your syllabus. Again, you would click here. I already have that downloaded, so we'll go right here. Your syllabus. As soon as you click that, this will pop up. This is your syllabus. Read it, understand it. It's a few pages. It's not too difficult, but you'll see some of the prerequisites here. Getting started, where everything's due, when it's due, how long students can expect to spend per week. Major assignments, I'm going to go over that here in just a second, but this is a brief summary. Discussion boards, what you're required to do each week. And then we break it down a little easier for you to give you a table of weekly topics. This shows you exactly what you got to do each week. My recommendation is to print this section out, understand it, and then you got it sitting right there on your desk, and you can know exactly if you're on target. Keep scrolling down. Here's your assignments and your graded weights. You'll see that the ethics essays, feedback only. We do that so that we can get you guys on track on what we're asking for. A lot of students struggle with comms. Ethics essay is a great tool to kind of get you on track of what we're expecting. Problem essay, heritage essay, you'll see there, capstone essay, and then so on and so forth. I'm going to scroll down. Feel free to read this. I want to point out successful paper is written using APA format, APA 6 format. There is an APA manual located in the download sections if you need it. Otherwise, you can also Google APA and get a plethora of help. Passing paper, it goes on to discuss that. A poor paper, surveys. Surveys are used in order to enhance your student experience. Yes, we read them. Yes, we change things just because of it. Last thing I want to go over is the student academic matrix. This shows you what happens if you fail a test or fail to post. So feel free to go through that. And then we'll go on to the in-residence phase. So I'm going to get out of that, go back to Blackboard. So we talked about the syllabus, talked about the military FA, we talked about the military FA, is grading the essays, and the lead, adjunct FAs, will grade that discussion board post and capstone. I showed you that academic matrix, and I talked about I did not talk about the 3-strike rule. So as per the academic matrix, SEA uses a 3-strike rule. What does that mean? It means by that third failure, you're going to be facing the director, and the director's probably going to send you home. So you don't want to get there. First failure is going to be a counseling. Second failure is going to be an ARB, which is the Academic Review Board. We try to figure out what's going on, where we can help you. And then third one, we end up generally sending you home. So you don't want to get there. How do you avoid getting there? Well, you follow the guidance that your FA is sending you. We talked about surveys. There's going to be several surveys, one each week. Reminder, these are due on Friday. Dr. Budd actually compiles these, puts them together, and uses all that data to enhance that student experience. Okay, so we talk about staying on top of things. Again, failures to avoid when you miss a deadline. Some students get in trouble because they'll wait right up to the last minute in order to submit something. You submit through turn it in generally takes about 30 minutes. Can be quicker oftentimes, but it can take up to 30 minutes. And they submit it right up to the deadline, end up going over the similarity index. What do I mean is turn it in will give you a similarity report, but like I said, it can take up to 30 minutes. And if you turn that in at 11:30, you don't get that similarity index limit back until midnight. You're going to end up missing your deadline. You can't submit it, and you're going to end up getting a failure. Again, talk to your FA if you have any kind of issues that you're running into. That's going to be your biggest key to avoiding these failures. Where do you find the deadline? Shows here syllabus, as I just showed you a little bit ago. Calendar, which I'm going to show you here in just a second. Weekly checklist, FA communications. I also replicate it in the weekly data discussion board threads. I'm going to scroll right back to Blackboard. Showed you navigation. I want to go to calendar now. So if you go all the way to the left, 5th button down, you'll see calendar. We pre-populate this calendar in order to show you exactly when everything's due. You'll see that today is the 27th. The convocation is listed right here. It's highlighted in yellow. What do we got due tomorrow? We come here to the 28th. There's 2 things listed there. You need to have your PME completion certificates and your SEA acknowledgement letter submitted. Additionally, that knowledge check is due. Knowledge check, I think it's 6 questions. You got to do that in order to proceed throughout the course. Again, if you have any issues, get hold of your FA. All the way over here to the 31st, it shows that your primary and secondary responses are due. Again, week 1 is different than the rest of the weeks, only because we know that Blackboard could be a little overwhelming. We want to give it a little bit extra time. Primary and secondary responses are due on and I'm going to let Barry Crawford talk about that here in just a little bit. So that is the calendar. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Feel free to go through there, but you'll see that this has everything that is due, when it's due, if you ever get confused. So where did we say? We said syllabus, as I showed you a little bit earlier, calendar, weekly checklist, which is again located in that syllabus, or in each weekly thread, or also you can ask your FA. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them up here on the chat board, and Jill or Barry will answer as appropriate. Navigating Blackboard. I'm going to actually scroll to Blackboard. I'm going to show you how to get to the library. There's a little video that I'm just going to show you where it's located. Feel free to watch it at your own leisure. Announcement, I'm going to show you where to get that. Weekly lessons, major assignments. Again, if you don't mind, just muting your mic, please. Quizzes and exams, resources, and lastly, your grades. So let's go back to let's go back to Blackboard. First, I'm going to show you how to get to the library. If you go all the way to the top, there's this blue banner at the top. It says my Naval War College courses and then Naval War College library. Click on that link there. It'll take you to this. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. Feel free to do that at your leisure. However, I will say if you go to resources, Dr. Budd has put together a Naval War College library tutorial, 12 minutes long, and it shows you how to use that online search feature. If you use any university libraries, this is very similar. It's extensive library of peer-reviewed articles and more. A great resource if you're struggling on where to find stuff. So click there if you want to watch a tutorial. I'm not going to do it. That'll be up to you if you decide to do that. But that is your library. It is one of your tools that you can use. So let's go to announcements. A couple ways to get there. All the way to the left, there's this little home button right underneath the symbol. It says you can click that. It'll take you to the home. Announcements pop up right there. This is an important area to be paying attention to what's going on. There's only a couple there right now, but throughout the course, you're going to see several. So make sure you're paying attention there. Another way to get there, scroll towards the bottom. You'll see down here, I don't know, 10th button down or so, right underneath DTS travel info. There's another section, announcement, takes you to the same spot. All right, weekly lessons. Again, go to your blue tabs here on the side. Third one down says weekly lessons. You'll see each week is broken up. Week 1, week 2, week 3. So go ahead and click on week 1. It shows you, here's some videos. Remember I told you about that checklist? That checklist is right there. You can print that up, put that here, make little checks. It's a good way to get through the week. Make sure you're figuring out exactly what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. So that's weekly checklists. I'm going to go back here. There's also some other buttons. Feel free to check those out. I'm not going to click them right now in the interest of time. But feel free to click them at your leisure. Again, you got week 2. Well, what is due week 2? Remember we had right there's a survey. Talks about Dr. Budd. Week 2 checklist right here. Major assignments, ethics essay, due no later than Sunday, 23:59. Don't procrastinate on that. Remember what I told you about turn it in. Turn it in takes about 30 minutes. So if you wait to 23:30, you might run into some problems if you're busting that similarity index. Also, there's a capstone student roles. Your FA or your adjunct FA can give you more information on that. And scroll down there if you need more additional information. I'm not going to go over it here. All right, after weekly lessons, we talked about major assignments. 4th button down all the way to the left says major assignments. Got a little thing about missing ships movement. Turn it in. Turn it in is a plagiarism checking software. It's very similar to Safe Assign. There's probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 really these things out there. I don't know if you have been in college and you've used that different ones, but Turn It In is a pretty popular one. Either way, it's going to give you a similarity report. It says within 5 minutes, but I will tell you, oftentimes, if everybody's turning it at the same time, it can take up to 30. So don't test that. So in order to submit something, you got a little video instructions. It's all self-explanatory. Again, if you have problems doing that, please get a hold of your FA. I'm not going to go through it here, but feel free to watch these videos, instructions, And if you have any questions, just give your FA a holler. We are truly here to help you. Ethics essay, that is your first assignment. Remember I said that's due week 2. Well, what is the ethics essay? You get on this topics of, you get on this, let's see right here, Encyclopedia of Ethical Failure. You find an interesting topic and you put it on your group discussion board. You ask your FA, hey, I want to do this. This is the page number. Your FA comes back, says, roger that, knock it out. They knock it out. Well, what should it look like? Right down here, you got an outline sample, essay rubric, and up top, you got ethics essay practical exercise instructions. That's your PE instructions. Every major PE has one of these every major assignment has a different PE. Why? We ask you to write different main points. I'm going to go over that in just a second. But for the ethics essay, you're going to click here. I already have it pulled up for you. Not there, here. This is practical exercise 2.02-6 ethics essay. As I just told you, Encyclopedia of Ethical Failure. You're going to go through there. You're going to figure out what you want to write about. After you figure that out, you read through this very carefully. What does it need to do, or how long does it need to be? 2 to 3 pages, excluding title and reference pages. What format should it be written in? APA, right there. How many references should it have? Boom, minimum of 2 references. Understand that each assignment has different PEs. For instance, some are going to have a minimum of 3 references. Yes, you're going to get hit if you don't use credible references and the right amount of references. Similarity index cannot exceed 30% when I turn it in. Like I said, you submit it in and you get a report back. Now, I will tell you that it's 30% on the ethics essay because ethics essay is common and a lot of it is going to be pretty high. So expect a similarity index around 25 to 30, but just don't exceed that 30. And if you need guidance in getting it down below that 30, give your FA a holler. They'll help you out. Don't use third person, or use third person. First person is I, me, let's, you, your. Don't use that. Okay, so what are my main points? Well, if I look at this PE, it says my main points are background and impact. And I have to put a transition sentence. What is that? Well, let's go ahead and go through that real quick. Now, I'm going to spend an extensive amount of time on this, but I'm going to go through it very quickly so that you kind of understand that what 3-part comms is and why we're asking you to use it. What is 3-part comms? Well, 3-part comms is, hold on one second. 3-part comms is a tool. I like to say it's kind of like that bottom line up front. It's cutting out the fluff. It's telling everybody how you feel, why you feel, and doing it without that fluff, those comforting words. This is just down to the down to the point communication. Communicate up and down the chain of command. Communicating with peers or communicating outside of an organization. Cutting out all that extra stuff you don't need and getting your ideas and feelings out there in a quick, concise manner. Well, let's go over this a little bit real quick. 3 parts comm. First thing you're going to do is you're going to give an introduction. You're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. How do I do that? I'm going to give you three parts of that. I'm going to go over that in just a second. That's part 1, that introduction. Part 2 is going to be the main body. This is where you're actually telling them. This is the meat and potatoes. So first you're telling them what's in the stew, then you're actually feeding them the stew. Well, after you fed them the stew, you're telling them what was in the stew. That's telling them what you just told them to remind them. This is why you need to understand it. This is why you should be paying attention to what I'm saying to you. So I'm going to give you a quick down and dirty on 3 parts comms. First, introduction. You're going to have 3 parts to it. Your attention getter, motivation statement, and overview. Attention getter is that headline news. hey, this is where I'm going to talk about some kind of stats, some kind of question, some kind of something that's going to get your attention. Okay, I want to listen to you. Then you're going on to motivation statement. What is a motivation statement? This is your WIFM. That what's in it for me? Okay, that what's in it for me? When you think about that WIFM, that's a who, what, and why. Who? As I said earlier, your audience is senior enlisted leaders. So generally, that's going to be who. Senior enlisted leaders should understand that using three-part comms is a great format. It's a great tool. Why? Because it helps give that information out in a concise manner. So they got an example right down here. Again, this is located in your resources tab under three-part comm. This exact document I'm using here. Senior enlisted academies students who should understand three parts communication. What? Because it is the format used for their assignments, they're going to get graded on it. Why? Now, one thing to understand is the motivation should be only one sentence. Scroll down after the motivation. Fourth sentence down from your introduction should be your overview. Overview covers the main points of your paper. Main points are what? That's the background and impact. That's what we tell you as per the PE. So a good overview is going to be something like, now that this paper will discuss the background, and afterwards it will discuss the impact. Something like that. There's a good example here I'm going to go to in just a second. Don't wordsmith this. It has to be verbatim. It has to say those words, background and impact, for the ethics essay. It's going to be different for your other essays. Main body is you're telling them that meat and potatoes. Hey, this is what I'm telling you. So the main point one, that's the background for the ethics essay. Then in between main point one and main point two, you have a thing called transition sentence. Transition sentence closes out main point one and it opens up main point two for the ethics essay. If you have more main points, it'll close out the prior main point and then open up the new one. So an example of it, if your main points were background and government, your transition sentence would read, knowledge of Scotland's diverse background will assist in understanding the structure of its government. I don't know why they use government here. It should probably be impact, because impact is the ethics essay main point two. But so if that was the case, you'd say knowledge of Scotland's diverse background will assist in understanding the impact to its government. So understand, you need to have those two main points. Conclusion. It's almost the exact opposite of the introduction. It's a summary is going to be reverse of the overview. Remember, the overview had the two main points in it, and all you're saying is now that this paper has discussed the background and covered the impact of this particular bad decision. Remotivation going to be very similar to your motivation, just be a little bit in past tense. Senior enlisted leaders should understand the importance of three parts comm because it will help you to succeed at the SEA. And lastly, close it out with some kind of idea. I always recommend a quote. I don't say a provoking idea. I say just throw some quote up there that you really like. I think those quotes usually make a bigger impact, especially if you get a real good one. All right, outline. I'm going to scroll what an outline should look like. Three-part outline. You got an attention getter, motivation, overview. These are where you're going to throw your stuff up there, throw it to your FA so he or she can give you some guidance. So this is what your outline should look like. Keep scrolling down. Well, let's look at an actual example. Remember that attention getter, motivation, and overview. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Feel free to read it at your leisure. But there is a great example located within this. And it shows you exactly what I was just talking about. Remember, I told you that summary needed to have the two main points in there, background and impact. transition, background, impact. All right, we've discussed three-part comm. We've discussed where to get it. So where do you get it out again? I'm going to tell you in just a second. That particular thing that I was just looking at, document, go to your resources tab, which is located all the way to the left. Click that resources tab. Very top part, you have master and three-part comms. I told you about APA earlier. Hey, if you don't remember APA, no worries. Click on this. It's got everything you want to know and more. Also, you can Google it or Yahoo it or whatever you want to call it. Check it out. Click on the three-part comms tab. This opens up that exact document I was just looking up right there in the very top thing. Hit download. You can look at exactly what I was just looking at. Scroll down. It's got a good example of what your outline should look like, how to write your paper. Again, any additional questions, direct them at your FA, or you can ask at the end of this. All right, I'm going to close some of these out. We have talked about all of these buttons over here. We've talked about resources. Now let's talk about quizzes and exam. Click that. This is where your quiz and exam can be located at. When is my quiz due? When is my exam due? Well, I told you several ways to figure out how to get how it is, but I'm going to show you one more time. Remember where the calendar was? Let's go to the calendar. Scroll down a little bit. Well, doesn't look like I got anything there. September. I don't see anything week 7th. Oh, here you go. What's this? This is when my ethics essay is due, the 8th. I'll bet my quiz is due the next week. All right, look at that. On the 15th of September, you have quiz 1 due. Make sure you don't miss that. Due 23:59. Capstone, some other stuff is due as well. And you can go through here. Your midterm, 29th of September. Again, calendar, great tool. Shows you how to get where exactly your stuff is due. You quiz and exam. Well, what grade did I get on it? You click on View My Grades. It shows you exactly what you got to do, exactly where everything is. Generally, when you want to see your feedback, you're going to click over here on this little week 1, and it's going to pull up your feedback from your FA. I actually email my stuff out. I don't know how your FA does it. Whole class discussion. Most of you are probably going to be familiar with this button already. This is where you introduce yourself. If you haven't done so, go ahead and click on here. Find your group. If you're one of the brown bombers, go ahead and introduce yourself right here, the brown intros. All right. Or if you're gold, or if you're gray or green, find out what group you're in. How do I find out what group I'm in? All the way to the left, all the way a little bit down, it says brown bombers group. Why? Because I'm the brown bomber FA. However, this might say gold group for you or gray group. Click on that. That's going to take you, click on whatever color you are, introduce yourself. If you want to know more about us, the SEA staff, click this button here. Click the button right underneath whole class discussion. It says SEA staff. All right, let's get back to our slideshow, shall we? So I have shown you the library, the announcements, weekly lessons, where to find major assignments, a little bit of three-part comms background, what it is, why we use it, quiz and exam, where to do them, how to find out when they're due, resources tab, that was where the three-parts comms was, my grades. I showed you how to get to that my grades section. All right, I'm not going to go over this again, but your major assignments tab, oh, I don't think I went over that actually, I will go over that. Major, too far. Major assignments. So I have clicked this. Yes. All right. Again, each of these major assignments located here. Ethics essay, after you finish the ethics essay, scroll down a little bit more. You got your capstone. This is a group project. All the information you want to know about here. Keep scrolling down. Problem essay information. That's your essay after the ethics essay. This one will be a speech, so understand that. And make sure you're reading the PE for this. Continue to go down, military heritage essay. That's going to be one of your week 6, and this is your longest written individual. Keep going down. If you want to do a biography, feel free to send that to your FA. All right. All right. All right. Let's go back to the slideshow here. We got essays that shows you how to get to PEs. Make sure you're meeting all those requirements. Don't deviate, and make sure you're following that similarity. Capstone project, that is going to be a group project. You'll find information there underneath your milestone. Make sure you're reading that PE as it's written. All right. Discussion board. I can actually turn this over. Barry, are you available? Barry, if you're available, go ahead and unmute your mic. All right. Yes. We'll give Barry a couple seconds here. Jill, can you give him a holler? All right. So we'll go ahead and leave discussion boards posts for now. I'm going to give him the opportunity to talk about that because remember, I said adjunct FAs are the ones that grade those. Keys to success. Make sure you're open to the learning experience. So distance learning can be a little bit challenging. It is significantly different than the in-residence portion. Different distance learning is more like a college class. Sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. Make sure you're communicating with your FA. Follow the PEs, as I stated before. Pay attention to deadlines. Communicate early and often. If you have issues or if you have questions and people are around, remember there are a lot of SEA graduates out there. They can help you out.
Monty, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes. I'll go ahead and go back. You want to go ahead and talk now? Barry, you there?
Monty, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You can go ahead and take over whenever you're ready.
All right, I'm sorry about that confusion. So I'm Barry Crawford. I'm one of the adjunct FAs, and we'll be grading your Blackboard discussion threads. And so I just want to give you some tips. So, and Monty, if you want to go back to the Blackboard and kind of point to some of the things I allude to, that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
All right, so under your group color, you have a discussion. Weekly discussion is where you're going to find this. Every week, you're going to see 2 questions, and we're expecting discussion on each of these 2 questions. So you're going to post a primary, which is one response to the question. It's your own original thought to the question, and then a secondary is a response to another student. So we're expecting one primary and one secondary response to each question each week. The due dates for these are in your calendar, so that's what you should look to. What I want to emphasize, though, for everybody is that these are very important. We use the Blackboard to help you develop your communication skills and your writing skills and being persuasive and influential. So this is helping you with your essays, which also in turn helps you with your capstone and helps you with your presentation and residence. These are all designed to work together and help you communicate more effectively. So here's a couple tips. When you post in the discussion thread, if you reply to somebody or reply to the question, and if you use the quote button, the FAs can see what you're responding to. If you do not use the quote button, we just see a random response from you, and we don't really know what it's regarding. So if you use the quote button, it really helps us have some context to your answer. The posts are intended for you to communicate effectively, so we're looking for professional language, professional tone, improve your writing skills, take it serious. We want you to follow APA guidelines, just like you would on your paper. We want you to cite references. We'd like you to have spelling control, sentence control. So we're expecting that. What we're not expecting is that you use three-part comms. It's a very compact space. We're not looking for three-part comms, the intro and the body and the conclusion. So Blackboard posts are not for three-part comms. But this also is in the PE. We have a practical exercise that you're going to find in your week 1 material, which guides you on expectations for the Blackboard post. What I'm doing is just emphasizing some key things to consider. We want you to focus on critical thinking. We're not looking for an answer that you think we want to hear. We're not looking for universal support of a premise. If you do not agree on the premise, we'd love to hear you give an opposing view in a professional manner. If you oppose a student's position, you think they're getting too inappropriate or political, or it's one side that you don't believe in, we are not looking for you to support a thought that you don't believe in. Articulate your argument and try to be persuasive and professional and cite references to back up your opinion. So we're looking for critical thinking, not just a copy and paste off the internet. Primary post, which is in the PE, primary post should be 200 and 250 words, and your secondary post 50 to 100 words. I say no exceptions to that, but here's what we're trying to get to. In briefs and formulating responses, not everybody has all day to give a brief. Sometimes there's restrictions. So we're going to train you through these posts to formulate a post within 200 and 250 words. What that forces you to do is go back, rethink it, go back to your sentence structure. Make sure you're only putting things in there that help your case. You're not going to ramble. So we really enforce the 200 to 250 words on primaries because we're forcing you to go back, think about your message, refine it. So we know the difference when you're just posting something to get the assignment done and click post, because there's no QC in there. Word count there's no attention to that, and citations are missing. So we know when you're just going through the motions. So these Blackboard posts are to help you develop the skill of professionalism and articulating a persuasive message. We're looking for paragraphs that give a good topic sentence. You're framing your idea, you're supporting it with good arguments in your supporting sentences. We're looking for that, just like you would in your essays. QC your post before submitting. All you got to do, type your post in Microsoft Word or email where you have spell check, and that's going to help you with the mechanics element of our grading, the accuracy of your spelling and the sentence structure and passive voice. We're looking for passive voice. We want you to write an active voice. So you can catch all this stuff with the tools in Microsoft Word or an email, depending on your spell check or proofing settings. Do it there. Do your word count in Microsoft Word. Make sure you've got your word count met, and then copy and paste that into Blackboard. And that'll really help you. Most points are lost just by poor quality control. And we use a grading rubric that we're showing you right there. That is in week 1 material. That is what we use. We are expecting you to use citations. If you make a comment, for example, Saudi Arabia is the greatest threat to the world order, your classmates and your FA is wondering, where are you making a statement like that from? It's just a random, unsubstantiated statement. But if you can make a statement and you can back it up with a reference, it really helps with your persuasiveness as a writer and a communicator. FAs will grade your posts. We put them in the results center. So that's where you're going to see your feedback. So it's very important that you know where the results center is, because we're trying to help you week to week on each question, giving you some constructive feedback. And if you do not look for the grades in the results center, you will never get that feedback. We're not communicating via email on your feedback necessarily. We're putting it in the results center. So we want you to look for your name and look for your weekly feedback. When can you expect this? If your Blackboard posts are due, your secondary is due on the Saturday night, you're going to get feedback anywhere from Sunday night up through Tuesday. And, with 100 posts a week, depending on how messy it is, it can take a while. So you'll get feedback sometimes just prior to your Wednesday post, but Sunday to Tuesday is when you can expect some feedback. Those are the kind of the highlights that I wanted to point out, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks, Barry. Okay, so we talked about all the discussion board posts. Go ahead and continue on. As I said, keys to success. I've already went over this. I'm not going to go through it again. Last thing I do want to talk about is academic mentor. A lot of times you have within your mess, within your other group, you have people that are more than willing to help out. If you are struggling, and some of you will be struggling, that's fine. We understand it. Reach out and talk to somebody who's been through the course before, hopefully recently. But if they haven't, then maybe they still remember what they did when they went through. So make sure you're reaching out. Make sure you're not too much pride that you can't ask for help. Trust me, we've all been there. All right, so student handbook, group t-shirts. I'm going to talk about group t-shirts first. We see these in all different colors, different designs. It's got to be professional design, nothing too comical. However, use your imagination. I had a Red Dragons was my last group, and they had a red dragon on the back, but they actually used a blue shirt to do so. So don't think you're limited by your group color in order to make your shirts. It's up to you. I would caution that it could be a little bit confusing. Like I said, I had the Red Dragons, and they had a blue shirt, so everybody thought they were the blue group. However, they were the red group. So make sure but have fun with that. The student handbook. This is something you're really going to use prior to getting into coming in residence, but go ahead and feel free to look through it whenever you get an opportunity. I have it downloaded here. Student handbook can be accessed, navigation downloads. Remember, all the way here to the left, navigation downloads, second button down. It shows you download section, or I'm sorry, the syllabus. All the way at the bottom, student handbook, click there. This thing pops up right here. This is mostly your in-residence phase, as it says, in residence phase. Go through here, and it'll give you some good information. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Feel free to do it at your own leisure. Let's see, t-shirts. All right, next we talk about DTS, travel in here. So do not book lodging in DTS. Follow your announcements. That's really what all this is saying. We have a really good travel team here that deals with hundreds of people each week, and they know what they're doing. They've run into nearly every issue that there is out there. I'm sure there's one or two issues but they've run into nearly every issue. Give them a holler if you run into stumbling blocks. But I'll tell you, the biggest thing to do is following that announcement. They tell you exactly when to do everything, how to do it, and follow the 5 steps listed underneath this travel info. I'm going to scroll back to Blackboard to show you where that's located. All right, start here, scroll all the way down towards the bottom, and it says DTS travel information. That's the, I don't know, 10th button down or so, 11th button down, and it's got all this information. Biggest one I really want to point out to you is this one right here. Very top, it says travel questions. Please contact Miss Michelle Whitnar. She is our younger version of Yoda, female. She knows everything there is to know about DTS. If you have questions, give her a holler. She will get that answer. Just do realize that she can get a little overwhelmed at times. She is human, and she deals with probably over 100 people any given day. And I say that, let's see here. You got DTS prerequisites. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. You can do this at your leisure, but it tells you everything you need to know. As I said, biggest thing is don't jump the gun. follow the announcements when she sends them out in week 2 and week 5. And then when you get here, you won't have any issues. All right, I'm not going to read this whole thing here, but you'll see some of these different milestones for you traveling, when you should begin the announcements, what you need to do. A big thing here, do not delete travel itinerary email from Sato. Some people do that. They run into trouble and they say, "Oh, I never got that." Well, you did get it, you just deleted it. Or maybe it went to your junk box. But look for it. If you didn't get it, give Michelle a call. Send an email to this here SEA DTS coordinator, and you will get your answer. But work with them, and they will work with you. Like I said, they have probably figured out every issue there is out there. Remember, they deal with about 140 people per class, 140 different situations, and they are extraordinary. All right, let's go on. DTS summary. All right, quick summary here. Follow that 5 steps. Follow the announcements and ask for help if you need it. Lastly, here is a summary. Again, there's going to be a question and answering. If you haven't gotten your question answered, ask it here in just a couple seconds. I went over navigating Blackboard. I went over major assignments. I went over discussion board. Actually, Barry went over a discussion board overview. We showed you where that rubric was and what we're expecting. We talked about keys to success. We talked about good to know information. So now is your question and answer section. You have a couple of methods here. You can unmute your mic one at a time, please. Or you can just put your questions up here in the chat. If I went too fast, let me know. All right, go ahead. Who's this?
Hey, Monty, this is Jonathan Knoll. Hey, when Barry was talking, you went to the left side in the Blackboard, all the way at the bottom in the, I think it was the resource center on your screen.
Yeah, I think I went to the wrong area.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to understand. How do I get feedback for my discussion board?
Okay.
Is that in the grades?
Yeah, that's going to be under your view my grades here.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to the wrong area. I was thinking my way. But you go all the way to the left here, overview my grades, and you can see your discussion. All right.
Thanks, Monty. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate it.
No worries, Jonathan. Anybody else?
Yes, this is Senior Chief Mackenzie Reimer. I had a question on the ethic essay. So the ethic essay, when exactly, and I'm a little bit thinking, when exactly is it that the outline is, when exactly is the essay and the outline due? I mean, the outline and essay.
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. The outlines are due, that's a FA dependent question. So for instance, my particular class, Brown Bombers, I tell them I want the the outline by Thursday, 4 days prior to the due date. So it would be the 5th of September for my class. But I'll tell you, your FA is going to have, what group are you in? All right, so your FA is going to have a different time frame. Some FAs don't require it until the day of. But I tell you, that's just up to your FA. Give them a holler, give them an email, and they will answer that question. Does that answer your question? All right, next question. All right, well, I'm going to hang out for a couple more minutes. If you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to ask them. If you don't, go ahead and log off because that will conclude this convocation.
Hey, Monty.
Yes.
Yeah, it's John again. Hey,
John.
Prior to actually showing up for in residency, is there another one of these to kind of go through all the stuff that we're going to need to know before we get there and how to check in and all that?
There's not. Your FA may do one. That's up to the FA. But most FAs will send out some kind of an email that explains exactly what you got to do. and what to expect. So I'll tell you a couple things to expect is that a commissary is closed on Sunday, so make sure you bring some food, and then some of the other things like that they'll tell you.
Okay, and I haven't read anywhere about uniforms. Is it always NWUs or?
Except for the Fridays, those are going to be in khakis or service equivalent. PT is going to be in PTUs or service equivalent, and then the first day is going to be you're going to show up in PTUs or service equivalent. You're going to change at lunchtime back into khakis, and then you'll finish out the day in khakis. Otherwise, every day is going to be in NWUs or service equivalent.
Okay, so no dress whites, no dress blues, no need to bring those.
No, not unless you just want to bring them and parade around them.
Nope, I'm good. Thanks. Thanks.
Yep, no worries.
Hey, Monty. This is Senior Chief Ellis. Just got a question,
you got
man.
same last name as me, man.
You're my brother, the one that I couldn't find anymore.
Yeah. What you got, man?
No, so I know, just trying to put things together with as far as the uniform. He was asking about, you mentioned you mentioned about the khakis on Friday to finish the day. Is that correct?
Okay, so I wasn't clear on that. So the first Monday, you're going to show up in PT gear. You're going to get weighed in, you're going to do a little intro, then you're going to break for lunch and you're going to change into khakis. That's the first Monday. And then the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to be in NWUs, and every Friday you'll be in NWUs. Or, I'm sorry, not NWU, in khakis.
Ah, that's what it was.
Yeah, Khaki Friday.
Perfect.
Hey, how do you say your first name?
Crowley, Croldy. It's kind of weird, but
hey, look forward to meeting you, man.
Yeah, same here, man. I appreciate your help, man. I was just wondering if to get the all the steps that you went through, there's a way to get like a hard copy.
A hard copy of what?
Or either upload it so I can read it, step by step.
So, well, this particular video will be uploaded and put onto announcement section. So if that helps you out. Otherwise, remember, you can always go to the navigations download button, and I'll go to it real quick. That navigations download button, and that will also show you everything, a brief summary of everything.
Oh, I see. Outstanding, man. I appreciate you.
No worries. All right, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. Otherwise, you can go ahead and log off. Hey, no worries, Charles. Jill's out there too, so we'll thank her knocking it out. All right, a couple more minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. So if anybody got any questions, go ahead and ask them now. Otherwise, I'm going to be shutting it down there in a couple minutes. Right, and as I said, this will be uploaded. Oh, do we have somebody?
Are you still there?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Yeah, Monty, there's a question for you. I know you said that DTS and all the instructions will be put out later. Is there an option for members that want to drive?
I'm sorry, you broke up towards the end there. What you got?
Is there an option for members that want to drive? I know they put out rental cars, but are we allowed to drive our POVs up there?
There's plenty of people that drive up here. My advice would be to work that out with the DTS coordinator. But yes, there's plenty of people that drive up here.
This is OSCS Sharon Adams. I have a question about the discussion board. So you mentioned that we need to think critically and be persuasive, but then you also mentioned that we need to use references. So is it our own opinion of the topic or discussion, or is it that we have to cite references to support our thoughts?
I can answer that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. So this is Barry. So you know what makes a good persuasive argument is if you present a case, it could be your opinion, it could be supported by facts. So if you're going to comment on a situation, what do you think about what's most important to the U.S. in this region? If you have an opinion, articulate the opinion and then back it up with maybe a source or some facts or some circumstances that you see that are leading to why you would give us your opinion. So we love your opinion, then back it up with a professional source to strengthen your argument.
Roger, I think you've been crystal clear on that. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So if anybody else has any questions, Alexis, I just answered your question. Let me know if you didn't get it. Great questions, great session. Again, if you still have questions, you don't want to ask them here, feel free to reach out to your FA.
Hey, Monty, for some reason, I was breaking up. I did not get the answer.
Oh, you didn't get the answer. You have two different things. Let me see if I can send it. So the answer is plenty of people drive up here, but I just caution you to work it out with the actual DTS people, our DTS team. Just let them know what your intentions, and they'll help you out. Does that answer?
Yes. And second question I had is, do you have any recommendations on like the group shirts, like the different color T-shirts, or who we go through?
So I can't actually give you any recommendations. There's a ton of them out there. Your FA can probably give you some. I don't want to throw that out there. I don't want to give any business to one particular company, nor do I really have any that I can give you. But there are several of them out there, and your FA can probably help you out with that.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, I can't be a little more of help with that one. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shut down the recording. I'll give one more shout out to anybody that's got a question. If not, I'm going to go ahead and shut her down and look forward to seeing you all in Newport. Again, if you have any questions, understand that your FA is there to help you out. We all have a passion for this job. We all love it, and we just want to see you up here in Newport. So if you have life issues, reach out to your FA and let them know. Let him or her know, and generally you can get an extension of some sort. I'm not going to promise anything, but I can tell you that we generally work with everybody we can. Anyways, have a great night. Thanks for logging in, and SEA out.
Thanks, Monty.
Thanks all.